I'm a 17-year-old elite waver, and on my journey I've made tons of mistakes, and if I had avoided these 3 mistakes, I would have been flawless months ago. Now this first mistake has cost me months, no, like a legitimate year of brushing in progress. If I hadn't made this mistake, if everyone didn't make this mistake, they would be flawless by the time their waves start to form. And what is this mistake? This is not brushing your angles correctly. Now this mistake is inevitable. Everyone has different head shapes, everyone has different size mirrors, everybody has different circumstances regarding their hair. However, if you're able to at least get somewhat close to the angles you're supposed to be brushing, your path to being flawless will be sped up. Like legitimately, you'll make 10 times more progress if you're able to find what your angles are and you're able to brush those angles consistently. Now this is very unrealistic. This is like asking a beginner to the gym to do everything perfectly 100% of the time, but the way you learn is from failing and making mistakes. So yes, you are going to make this mistake, you are going to fail, but as you learn how to do things like read waves, like you can read where your pattern is going and so you know which way to brush. This is a skill. If you're in the mirror brushing every day and you're being conscious, if you come in your brush session with the intent to get your right angles with the intent to perfect your waves, you're gonna get this one correct. But if you don't, if you come into every single brush session be like, oh, this is a little brush session, and you're lazy and you're just brushing all over the place, or even if you're blind brushing, which we'll touch on that later, you're never gonna be able to progress to that next spot. You're always gonna have forks and problem areas because you're not paying enough attention to how you brush. Like really, I can't stress this enough. Even elite wavers, actually the better your waves get, the more important and the harder it is to do this step. The more important and the harder it is to brush the right angles. Look at 360 Jeezy. And in his words, I'm paraphrasing here, but in his words, once you get to that 2-3 forks left in your pattern, that's when you really have to lock in and pay attention to your angles. Because you can be breaking a fork, and then because you're brushing in a way that doesn't flow with the rest of your hair, you can cause a fork in another side of your head, like literally, and it's a never-ending process. So really, if you're a beginner, if you're able to get your angles right like 60% of the time, like if you're 60% right on your angles, that's not too unreasonable. If you're around 60-75% right with your angles, you're gonna make a lot more progress faster than your peers. And again, just not paying attention to your angles will be a massive setback to your pattern, man. So just no matter what, don't let your ego get in the way. Don't be like, oh, because of my top, all I have to do is brush it down straight and who cares, it's an easy angle to hit. No, make sure you're hitting that angle right and put intention with every stroke you put in. Now the second mistake you're making that is hindering your progress, it plays into the first mistake I just talked about, but it's blind brushing. This is 10 times worse. When you're blind brushing, let's say you try to drive to a place you've never been to, like Disney World for example. If you're driving with no GPS, no directions, you ever expect to get there? No, you're gonna be going all over the place and you're never gonna get to your destination. Blind brushing, you're brushing without a map. This mirror here, this mirror is your roadmap. This is your map. This right here, this is the secret to getting elite waves. This is the secret to getting flawless waves. This is your map. This alone tells you everything you need to do. And what you're doing, you're driving without the GPS, you're never gonna get to your destination. You're never even gonna get good looking waves. If you brush without this thing, you need to have this mirror in your hand and a mirror behind you, then you need to be brushing like that. That's how all elite wavers, you cannot tell me you cannot name a single elite waver, a single good waver who has good waves and they don't use a mirror. Blind brushing is one of the dumbest mistakes beginners make. Everybody makes it. When I first started waving, I used to be in class. There's this thing where you put 2 fingers on your crown and then you just brush. That's BS. Do not do that. That is a lie made up to give people an excuse to be lazy when they're brushing. Don't be lazy. Put in the work, because the work you put in is the work you're gonna get out. If I put in the lazy work of not brushing without a mirror and just brushing wherever, putting 2 fingers on my crown, oh look at me, I'm brushing, my waves are gonna be jacked up, forks everywhere. Do not do that. If you really want to, if you're actually serious about getting elite, if you actually want good waves and the things that come from that, never brush without your mat, especially when you're doing a wash. I don't even want to talk about shower brushing right now, man. That's gonna get me fired up. If you're shower brushing and doing that, just expect your waves to go. If you're shower brushing is doing the wash and style method, the best method for making progress. This also makes it the most dangerous method if you do it wrong, even if you have a mirror. If you're doing your wash and style and you hit the wrong angle, you can set yourself back for months. So imagine you're doing that, you're doing a wash and style with no mirror, your waves are gone. I'm sorry, your waves are gone. And this last mistake, all 3 of these mistakes in this video, they have to do with your angles, because the angles you're brushing is the single most important thing about getting waves. Now, not focusing on your crown. Your crown is the easiest thing to overlook in your wave pattern. Your crown is often looked at as an afterthought for beginners for months, maybe like a year or a year and a half into my wave journey. I thought, oh, my crown is just an afterthought. I don't really need to get it that right. I have a beehive, blah, 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 blah. No, your crown, especially when you're a beginner, it seems like it's the opposite, but once you get the knowledge of wave, your crown is the most important part of your wave. Your entire pattern, it does not matter. No amount of forks, nothing matters besides your crown. If the foundation isn't right, the whole house is gonna fall down. Your waves are the house, your crown is the foundation. If you have a perfect crown, if let's say I'm scalping, right? Let's say I scalp, I want to get a new squirrel, 360 GZ. Say I scalp. If I just focus on the rest of my waves and my crown isn't right, I would never. It will be a never-ending cycle of fixing forks here, but then I have new forks in my crown. And waves, they're like a waterfall. It starts from the crown, and then everything trickles down to the shoreline. That's what they call it, the shoreline. Everything trickles down to your hairline. And not focusing on my crown, let's say, yeah, I get the instant gratification of, look, I have a single strong side. But when you look at my crown, it's all messed up, and the mistakes on the crown they're gonna trickle down, and then boom, you have mistakes again all over your pattern. So instead, if I was to scalp and get that 360 swirl, I would focus on that crown. And once my crown is flawless, once my crown is almost perfect, then I can pay a little bit more attention, focus on just bringing everything down. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. The time's gonna pass anyways. You feel me? So if you spend that time focusing on your crown, you're gonna knock everything out, man. Build a foundation. If you build your house on sand, the whole thing's gonna collapse. If you build your house on a rock, it's gonna be sturdy. So build your house on a rock. It doesn't matter what kind of pattern you have. If you have a beehive, crown is still the most important part. The worst type of fork to get and the easiest type of fork to get is a fork in your crown. I got a fork in my crown last year. That's what, only up to like last week it came out. I didn't even notice when it came out. I thought that fork was just permanent. And I just got another fork in my crown up here, and because my hair texture on this side is a little bit different, it's been moving pretty easily, but it's still a massive setback. It's still a new fork. Your crown is the most sensitive part of your waves. Crown is the most important part of your waves. Just focus on your crown. I got this tip from 360 GZ, or at least he put it into words for me. In the beginning of your brush sessions, you want to focus on your crown, and at the end, you want to focus on the crown. When I was trying to get waves at first, one thing I used to do, I don't recommend this, I used to use every brush, hardness of brush for 10 minutes each. I used to set like a 3-minute timer at the beginning to brush my crown, and then a 3-minute timer at the end to brush my crown. I kind of do a similar thing now. I don't really time my brush sessions when I put a thing. I just look at the timer and just brush for like an hour. You do want to, that is a pretty good tip for brushing your crown, but yeah, do not overlook your crown, please. You don't want people looking at you, oh, you got a bald spot, or oh, your crown is dry. I heard all of those things, so work on your crown now before it's too late, because it can be too late with your crown. Your pattern is all good, but your crown has forks in it. Eventually those forks are gonna come down, so you focus on your crown. You're gonna have to do it anyways. Now, one quick little bonus tip, just to provide a little bit more value, is to brush your ear. Brushing your ear, I got this tip from LSP Wavy. Your ear, like this area of your wave, for a lot of beginners, that area is underdeveloped. And if you have glasses, it makes it even worse, because you don't really want to, brush your glasses off your face. You have to get used to brushing your ear down. When you're hitting that back right, back left angle, just brush your ear, man. At first it's gonna be really hard, especially if you're brushing your ear or combing your ear with a hard brush. It's not gonna feel right, but don't worry, man. Just keep at it, stay consistent, do it every day, and like a week you'll be used to it. It doesn't even take that long. But brushing your ear is just one little tip that all elite wavers do. You just gotta get used to it. If you have glasses, I'm sorry. I don't really relate to that. Hopefully I won't for a long time. You do want to be brushing your ear. That is a pro elite tip, man. All elite wavers, they brush your ear. So just make sure when you're hitting those back angles, just make sure you brush your ear. These tips are for beginners and elite wavers. And a lot of us, we are still beginners, and we're still trying to get waves on our sides. I don't want to leave us beginners, well, maybe not us, let me stop. I don't want to leave beginners in the dark. So one of the hardest challenges you're gonna have to face as a beginner is getting your waves on the side. So watch this video right here to learn how you get waves on your sides.